I want to tell you some stories of people who are living the impossible now. There's so many times we think things are impossible for us until we realize somebody's already doing it. And I take great joy in those times of hearing that, hey, there is a way of doing this differently. There is a way, and usually not even one. And I'm not a big fan of copying other ways. I think that can do damage to if we just copycat things. But I think when we hear stories of people doing bold peace building, at least for some of us, it makes us want to say, oh, I want to try that. I want to try something like that. Or it might not work in my setting, but this would work. And I think as peace builders, we have to be story keepers. We have to keep the stories of others, and we have to keep reminding people what's possible. So in this video, we're looking at stories of peace. We're looking at how peace moves, can be like a virus, and change can become contagious. We'll look at that. Now remember, if you haven't watched the first two videos, I highly recommend that. Just click above the video here somewhere and you can get back to the first and the second video. The first one, remember, we looked at 11 different peace leaders, wise peace teachers, and what they were doing to try and inspire peace builders in lots of different ways. We looked at Letterrock's integrated framework that looks at lots of different lenses and levels of peace building, and we talked about that question about longing, about what are you longing for in terms of peace work. So if you haven't seen that, do look at it. It's very important to this. And then we got into that two-loop theory of change, where we looked at the need for naming and connecting and nourishing and illuminating the path of peace building, so that the alternatives that often aren't even welcome within the main system, the alternatives have become a seed ground for future change. And this comes partly from connecting and illuminating and nourishing them. And so today we're going to shift the focus and be looking at stories. And rather than telling you stories of other peace gurus that we've connected with this Canadian School of Peace Building, I'm going to tell you about some of their students and about how they took this seriously and the paths that opened up for them. I think it could be argued that if you want to understand the value of somebody's work, or if there's long-term vision, goodness in that work, you should look not at them or their words or what they're doing or even what they're doing, but look at their students, look at the people that have been around them, and see what they're up to, because in some sense the proof is in the pudding. So we don't have a lot of time left. Our video series is coming to an end soon, and I do want to tell you about a few ideas right at the end of this on how we can maybe continue the conversation or different paths for that. So look for that at the end of this video, and let's jump into the stories of contagious change and peace like a virus. So we're back in our outdoor classroom. I hope you've been amused with my artwork here, and with me holding up this little paper sign in the wind. You should be amused at this. The sad thing about this art is it actually took me 3 times just to get it to this level, and of course I can't draw, and you know, the technology, the systems don't always work, but I just want to keep it fairly simple so that paper, pen, iPhone, we figure out how to communicate with each other, things that lots of people have ability to work with. So as long as we also have the ability to laugh at ourselves, I think we'll be fine, and we can learn a lot from this. So we're looking at this contagious change and what we've called the peace virus. That word virus gets used in very negative ways, but it's interesting how often medical scholars actually turn to viruses to try and figure out how to heal other different parts of the body. Viruses move across borders quite efficiently. It's hard to get things into the brain, medicine into the brain. Viruses can get there though, so they're trying to connect medicine to the brain and cross borders. Well, we've been talking about crossing borders, and I wonder if we need to embrace the idea of peace being like a virus, even if it doesn't quite sound right, that it figures out how to spread and how to travel. Okay, so I better explain this bad artwork behind me. This is a water tower. All these lines, except for the purple one, are supports holding up the water tower. I don't know if you have water towers where you are, but in Manitoba, water towers are very common. The community would get a source of water, hold it up high, and gravity would be part of the system that spread it. And I said we would come to critical mass. If you were to think about how we might move this water tower, and again, I'm relying on using tools from John Paul Lederach that we talked about in the first video. If we were all going to try and move this water tower together, I wonder how many people it would take for us to move it. You see all these people down at the bottom. Maybe we could get a whole bunch of people. And this is the question of critical mass. Do we need 100? Do we need 1,000 to push down that water tank? And critical mass, when we start to think in those terms, we often give up our own power, because we say, I don't have critical mass, I don't know how to get it. Until it's there, what are we going to do? And eventually we give up. And peace building's too important. The earth is too important. Our friends, our neighbors, our relations are too important to give up on that. And so we need to find a way to let go of that kind of thinking. This group is never going to be big enough there at the same time. So here, I don't know if you can see this, there's a little girl. I have twin daughters, so maybe it's one of them, although it's hard to recognize in my artwork. And if we were to attach one straw from the water tower down to a little person, even a child could empty that water. If they were to suck on the end of that straw, and some of the water would move up against gravity, and because water is connected and even magnetic, it connects to each other, others would follow. And eventually, as it started to fall, gravity would stop working against it and work for it. And all of the water in this tank could be moved by one little girl and a straw. Now, what's the lesson for peace building? Well, it's on right here. How do we support those that are going against the flow? How do we support them until this change is contagious? how do we support them long enough that others start to follow? Another way of thinking about this is, rather than critical mass, who are the few people that if they started to move together or against the flow, other people would follow? Now we're talking about critical hue, not critical mass, or critical siphon. How do we create a mechanism that would allow the people that are ready to move to start moving already publicly? So that question is about what are the different mechanisms we can take? How do we get some people moving? And again, not trying to get everybody moving, but how do we get the critical people moving, people that have the capacity to move and transform others. So this is a little bit about how we move to make peace contagious over the long run, and spread perhaps like a virus, perhaps like a siphon, perhaps like emptying the water. And we need to think about who are those people and what are the mechanisms that we can create, like the straw, where we can focus their energy, where we can support them to move against the flow long enough that others start to follow. And to me, in this question of how change happens, this is one of the most helpful answers that I've heard. And I think with School of Peacebuilding, we've tried to imagine ourselves kind of like that straw. How do we gather a critical few every year in June so that they can go against the flow, and they can do that work of naming the alternatives, connecting with each other. They can do the work of nourishing each other. They can do the work of illuminating to the people around them. So those are jobs that we as professors or as authors are mostly doing, but it's work that peace builders do collaboratively, with each other. They co-create with each other. And again, those four tasks of naming and connecting and illuminating and nourishing, those were in the previous video, and so if you haven't seen that, go back and check that out. School of Peacebuilding is just one siphon. There's lots of other ones, and there's lots of other great ones out there. We're working with other peacebuilding institutes that are trying to do very similar things, and there's great people doing this. So I'm not saying there's only one siphon. The whole point is we have to be creating a whole bunch of different ones. This is just one of those. Well, I told you in the first video that I would share some stories of some of the alumni that are, in my opinion, this kind of critical few who are creating contagious change. So these are, in the past videos, I've shown you the professors, the teachers, the peace builders that are kind of the elders or the gurus, that what they've been up to and what they're doing. Here, these are all their students. Okay, so not even my students, but the students of those people that came to School of Peacebuilding. And so one of the courses that we had in School of Peacebuilding was a course on how do you work at pressuring governments to policy change. And this is where we had Stu Clark and Sophia Murphy teach this course. And they assigned that all the students had to get into groups and create a policy change campaign. And during the course, some of the students created a 59-cent campaign. 59 cents is the amount of money that each Canadian would have to give so that the government had just cut funding for refugees to have medical care covered. And this is the cost, 59 cents. So they started a video, and you can look it up to watch the video on the 59-cent campaign. Well, the course was still going, like just a 5-day course. And they put together this video, and it caught on, and senators were talking about it in Ottawa, and it got the media's attention because they called on all Canadians to send in their 59 cents because it seems like the government couldn't afford to give proper care to our refugees. So check that out on YouTube or Google 59-cent campaign and watch their video. It's absolutely genius, and it was completely contagious. It took off even before the school had ended. And then Victoria Wollie, she's from Liberia, and twice now she's come to the Canadian School of Peacebuilding, and she works with West African Peace Network. Their country has been through such difficult times, and fairly recently a very difficult election. She went and took Mubarak Awad's course on peace or on nonviolent action, and then flies back to Liberia and teaches people there about that, and this starts to create a platform for change. And if you go and look at the participant videos for Canadian School of Peacebuilding, you'll get to see her, and you know, it's such an honor to have people like her come along. So this is in Liberia. And then Marissa Rycress, she's actually a Canadian who took a course with Waypon from Thailand, this engaged Buddhist feminist trainer. She took women in peacebuilding with her. She found it so deeply transformative, she changed her life direction. She took off to Thailand to spend some time with Waypon and others out there doing peace work in Thailand, and comes back a changed person on a different life track. And like, this is just this power of the connecting and the nourishing that happens. Again, deeply inspiring. Lauren Brandt came from the west coast of Canada to Winnipeg to join a course at Canadian School of Peacebuilding, and he knew that the TRC was starting the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and he's a psychologist, and knew that the residential school that were set up were so awful for Aboriginal people, and not just that, but the whole system of trying to oppress a people. And so he wanted to get ready himself and his church for truth and reconciliation. So he came for some training, and started to connect with other people. He ended up going to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and he's developed ongoing partnerships between his church and different Aboriginal groups. And it's just incredible how that peaceful path starts to open up, and when it's connecting with dissimilar peace builders. And as others have seen that, they've tried on the same kinds of thing that Lauren's up to. So again, this contagious change. David Caracachese is from Peru, and he is another inspiring person who came to School of Peacebuilding. He used to be in the military in Peru, in the leadership of the military, and decides war's not the answer. That war doesn't get us where we need to do. He sets up a peace center in Peru, and just as he's in the process of setting that up, he comes to us for some training and networking, and then goes back home and sets up a peace center, and the one who was the soldier becomes a peace builder. So these are just a few. There's hundreds of other stories of people that are trying this on. And of course, I'm telling you this because I'm inspired, and I think stories help put flesh on what's possible. But I'm also telling you because I want you to see yourself as somebody who could also be doing this, who could also be learning and connecting with others and nourishing others and being nourished by them. And the path that is possible to open up for you, you never quite know what that is, and you don't get to know what that is. You only get to know it as you walk it. And I think, as they say in the traditional healer in Fiji says, the healing path only opens as you travel it. And so we don't get the whole roadmap, we just get a step, and then we have to take that step and see what emerges. And then we take the next step and see what emerges. And so these are some of the people that have inspired me, provoked me to think, what are steps that I can take, what can I do? And they're just a delight to be around. So you've heard about how peace can be a virus, and change can be contagious. And you've heard the challenge to find those few people that if they moved up against the flow would have the capacity to bring others along with them, and then to find mechanisms that allows them to do just that. And I would love for you to tell me about how you're doing that later. Click below and leave me a note about how you're doing that. School of Peacebuilding is one example, but there's, again, lots and lots of them. And I hope you haven't been confused by I've been throwing around a lot of different names of 13 different peace builders, peace gurus, or teachers, elders, and some of their students. Now, I just want to encourage you that none of my students follow all of that. In fact, I don't always either. So if you don't understand everything, don't feel like you need to. Remember that healing path opens as we walk with good intentions towards it. Sometimes even if we we'll have wrong assumptions, but that can come out, as one pursues it in a good way. So I want to encourage you to think about using that. Our next video is going to look at your lifelong learning for peace. I've been arguing that we need places of oasis and nourishment and connection with other peace builders and dissimilar peace builders, and we'll look at different ways to do that. And I'm also very excited that we have something brand new that's coming out. And in the past, if people wanted to benefit from School of Peacebuilding, they had to come to Winnipeg in June and take intensive courses, and that was kind of the only way that knowledge or that wisdom or experience was able to be experienced. And we've been working on something for the last number of years, so that if people want to go deeper, that they have other opportunities. And so we have a book coming out that's going to be in a few days. We're going to make a big offer on it and have lots of bonuses and prizes and have a lot of fun with it. All of the peace builders that I've talked about in all of these prior videos, they're in this book. They have their own chapters in the book, or they've written endorsements for the book. All of them are in the book. And so watch for that next. But the next video is on your lifelong peace learning and what that could look like. So again, if you have... I would like to ask you to scroll down and leave a comment. I've been reading them and trying to respond to a bunch of them. I just find it so encouraging, and I would like to know what your how these trainings are impacting you, what possibilities you see, in your own community in terms of what peace building could look like and what the barriers are to that peace building. So scroll down, leave a comment, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.
best part has been, and it is, meeting other people from other countries and hearing about their experiences in peace building, in reconciliation, and in this course this time about nonviolent actions.
Long for the group of students to build a relationship together that really they don't need you anymore. As a professor, you know, hey, just leave us alone. You know, we are in the group, let's discuss that. That was very encouraging. They took things very seriously and they really are working hard to accomplish a task. And the task is not easy.
communities and start working for the communities and making them aware of how not to avoid conflict but deal with conflict in a peaceful set. So this is why I'm here and participating in such a unique experience and really taking the most, not only from the knowledge that I'm acquiring, but also for the experience, the people I met, and I believe I may do way more better if I have partners.